U20 Girls. I Had a Little Cat by Causley. I had a little cat called Tim Tom Tay. I took him to town on market day. I combed his whiskers, I brushed his tail. I wrote on a label, "Cat for sale." Knows how to deal with rats and mice. £2.50, bargain price. But when the people came to buy, I saw such a look in Tim Tom's eye that it was clear as clear could be. I couldn't sell Tim for a fortune's fee. I was shamed and sorry, I'll tell you plain, and I took home Tim Tom Tay again. U21 Girls. All Day Saturday by Causley. Let it sleet on Sunday. Monday, let it snow. Let the mist on Tuesday from the salt sea flow. Let it hail on Wednesday. Thursday, let it rain. Let the wind on Friday blow a hurricane. But Saturday, break fair and fine. And all day Saturday, let the sun shine. U22 Girls. The Squirrel. Anonymous. The winds they did blow, the leaves they did wag. Along came a beggar boy and put me in his bag. He took me up to London. A lady did me by, put me in a silver cage, and hung me up on high. With apples by the fire, and nuts for to crack, besides a little feather bed to rest my little back. U23 Girls. Jellyfish Pie by Roger McGough. Shuna chewed my tuna sandwich. Molly demolished my cucumber bap. Kylie slyly nibbled my bagel. Gavin unraveled my Mexican wrap. Betty bit my bacon butty. Gupta gulped my hard-boiled egg. Patsy pinched my crusty pasty. Nigella gnawed my chicken leg. Lisa licked my slice of pizza. Nicola nicked my shrimp on rye. Stephanie scoffed my stuffed panini, but nobody touched my jellyfish pie. U24, Girls, The Hair Fairy by Roger McGough. I'm going bald, and it's not fair. Where, oh where, is the fairy of hair? When I was young, and a tooth fell out, you didn't hear me weep or shout, for the tooth fairy would come to my aid. When fast asleep, I'd be well paid. If I got £1 for each fallen hair, by now I'd be a millionaire. U25, Girls, I Like to Stay Up by Nichols. I like to stay up and listen when big people talking jumbie stories. I does feel so tingly and excited inside me. But when my mother say, "Girl, time for bed," then is when I does feel a dread. Then is when I does jump into me bed. Then is when I does cover up from me feet to me head. Then is when I does wish I didn't listen to no stupid jumbie story. Then is when I does wish I did read me book instead. U26, Girls, The Old Woman and the Sandwiches by Libby Houston. I met a wizened wood woman who begged a crumb of me. 4 sandwiches of ham I had. I gave her 3. Bless you, thank you, kindly miss. Shall be rewarded well. 3 everlasting gifts whose value none can tell. 3 wishes out, I cried in glee. No, gifts you may not choose. A flea and gnat to bite your back and gravel in your shoes. U27, Girls, Best Friends by Adrian, Henri. It's Susan I talk to, not Tracy. Before that, I sat next to Jane. I used to be best friends with Linda, but these days I think she's a pain. Natasha's all right in small doses. I meet Mandy sometimes in town. I'm jealous of Annabelle's pony, and I don't like Nicola's frown. I used to go skating with Catherine. Before that, I went there with Ruth. And Kate's so much better at trampoline. She's a show-off, to tell you the truth. I think that I'm going off, Susan. She borrowed my comb yesterday. I think I might sit next to Tracy. She's my nearly best friend. She's okay. U28, Girls, The Singing Time by Leonard Clark. Plum trees in orchards, day and night. make all the world a dream of white. A thrush is throbbing in the copse, a jeweled song that never stops. Bluebells in drifts of deep sapphire have set the ferny woods on fire. A cuckoo calls his tune until first shadows fall on field and hill. Tulips in solid squads and teams are almost bursting at the seams. A Jenny wren with needle eyes is in the bushes catching flies. So flowers and birds are in their prime, these happy days, this singing time. U29, Girls. Good Company by Leonard Clark. I sleep in a room at the top of the house, with a flea and a fly and a soft scratching mouse, and a spider that hangs by a thread from the ceiling, who gives me each day such a curious feeling. When I watch him at work on the beautiful weave of his web that's so fine I can hardly believe. It won't all end up in such terrible tangles, for he sways as he weaves and spins as he dangles. I cannot get up to that spider, I know, and I hope he won't get down to me here below. And yet, when I wake in the chill morning air, I'd miss him if he were not still swinging there. For I have in my room such good company. There's him and the mouse and the fly and the flea. U30, Girls. The Microbe by Hilaire, Belloc. The microbe is so very small, you cannot make him out at all. But many sanguine people hope to see him through a microscope. His jointed tongue that lies beneath 100 curious rows of teeth, his 7 tufted tails with lots of lovely pink and purple spots, on each of which a pattern stands, composed of 40 separate bands. His eyebrows of a tender green. All these have never yet been seen, but scientists who ought to know assure us that they must be so. Oh, let us never, never doubt what nobody is sure about. U31, Girls. Politeness by Harry Graham. My cousin John was most polite. He led short-sighted Mrs. Bond by accident one winter's night into a village pond. Her life perhaps he might have saved, but how genteelly he behaved. Each time she rose and waved to him, he smiled and bowed and doffed his hat. Thought he, although I cannot swim, at least I can do that. And when for the 3rd time she sank, he stood bareheaded on the bank. Be civil then to young and old, especially to persons who possess a quantity of gold, which they might leave to you. The more they have, it seems to me, the more polite you ought to be. U32, Girls. The Last Word of a Bluebird, as Told to a Child, by Robert Frost. As I went out, a crow in a low voice said, "Oh, I was looking for you. How do you do? I just came to tell Leslie, will you, that her little bluebird wanted me to bring word. That's the north wind last night that made the stars bright and made ice on the trough, almost made him cough his tail feathers off. He just had to fly. But he sent her goodbye and said to be good and wear her red hood and look for skunk tracks in the snow with an axe and do everything. And perhaps in the spring he would come back and sing." U33, Girls. At 9 of the night I opened my door, by Charles Causley. At 9 of the night I opened my door, that stands midway between moor and moor, and all around me, silver bright, I saw that the world had turned to white. Thick was the snow on field and hedge, and vanished was the river sedge, where winter skilfully had wound a shining scarf without a sound. And as I stood and gazed my fill, a stable boy came down the hill. With every step I saw him take, flew at his heel a puff of flake. His brow was whiter than the hoar, a beard of freshest snow he wore, and round about him snowflake starred, a red horse blanket from the yard. In a red cloak I saw him go. His back was bent, his step was slow, and as he labored through the cold, he seemed 100 winters old. I stood and watched the snowy head, the whiskers white, the cloak of red. "A Merry Christmas," I heard him cry. "The same to you, old friend," said I. U34, Girls. Take a Poem by James Carter. Why not take a poem wherever you go? Pop it in your pocket, nobody will know. Take it to your classroom, stick it on the wall. Tell them all about it, read it in the hall. Take it to the bathroom, tuck it up in bed. Take the time to learn it, keep it in your head. Take it for a day trip, take it on a train. Fold it as a hat when it starts to rain. Take it to a river, fold it as a boat. Pop it on the water, hope that it will float. Take it to a hilltop, fold it as a plane. Throw it up skywards, time and time again. Take it to a postbox, send it anywhere, out into the world with tender, loving care.